As for the Baylor women, they are a 7 seed. We kind of broke that down last week. Thought they might be an 8 or a 9. That was kind of some of the projections out there, but I think that their wins that they had really helped them. I mean, especially being on the road, all those wins.
Good road wins.
Yeah. But they will play Alabama on Saturday in Storrs, Connecticut. And then, of course, the winner will play, they'll play UConn. Let's just put it out there. I don't think Vermont's going to beat UConn, but on UConn's home court next Monday. So how do you like the Baylor women's chances? I mean, of beating Alabama, and then is there any chance they pull off an upset beating UConn on their own home court?
I like their chances in the first round. Like you said, most people thought they'd be an 8 or 9 seed. So getting a 7 seed is a pretty good deal for them. Of course, Baylor's not a great team. They have a lot of things going right. But they're not going to play. Alabama's not Iowa State. And Iowa State, they play them really well. 63-63, and then Iowa State scored the last 11 to pull away. But I thought they played overall not bad in that game. If they can finish this game, unlike the last game, I think they have a good shot. I'd say about a 2% chance to beat UConn, maybe.
I might give them a little more than that, but
yeah.
Certainly they would be a drastic underdog against UConn. Let's go to Alabama first. So Alabama's coached by Christy Curry.
Sure, I remember her.
Coached at Louisiana Tech with Leon Barmore, coached at Texas Tech. She coached at Purdue, but coached at Texas Tech. That's where most of our Big 12 listeners will probably remember her from. And her teams at Tech were okay.
Yeah.
And her teams at Alabama have been okay. I mean, she's been there 10 years. This is her second NCAA tournament team. Now it's her second in the last 3 years, and I think it's probably her best team.
Okay.
The other thing about them, you mentioned that they're not Iowa State, but they might be a little more Iowa State-ish than people realize. They do shoot the 3 at like 38% as a team, which is pretty good. They've got some 3-point shooters, and that obviously was a big thing against Iowa State. You have to guard the line for you can't guard the line for 34 or 35 minutes, John. You got to guard it for 40 minutes, right?
When you have an Ashley Jones out there.
Right. So they're going to have to do the same thing against Alabama. They're going to have to play all the way to the finish. Alabama's best player is Brittany Davis. She averages around 17 points a game. So they'll obviously have their target on her. But she's actually the only player on that team that averages double figures. They have several around 8 or 9 points a game, but Baylor, meanwhile, that's something they do well, is spread it around. They typically, especially when they're playing well, will have 4 to 5 players in double figures. And so, I do like Baylor's chances against Alabama if they can play a good game. UConn at UConn is going to be tough. No question. There's going to be a huge crowd there. Nikki Collins was talking the other day about just how much they love and appreciate women's basketball. And she said, yeah, it's funny. I've seen before where they've actually cheered the opposing team when they finally score their first bucket or whatever, or whatever, just kind of get behind them a little bit. She said, of course, it's easy to do when your team's winning by 30. This is not a vintage UConn team, so I think that bodes a little well for Baylor. I mean, they're really good, and they're battle tested. UConn, as under Gino, they always play a tough schedule. But they have been beaten. South Carolina exposed them in a game pretty well earlier this year. And they also don't have Paige Becker. She's been gone the whole season. So I'm just throwing some things out there that, maybe gives Baylor a chance. I honestly think Baylor can win. I put their chances more like 20%.
Whoa.
But they're going to have to play one of their best games of the year. I mean, that's all there is to it. And, they're going to have to, and they've shown that they're capable of that at Ames and at Austin and at Norman. So maybe, 13, 15,000 UConn fans will just fire them up. We'll see. I mean, that's the one thing where that's why I give Baylor a puncher's chance. They might have less of a chance if it was at the Farrell Center.
They do play better on the road. And I think, having a great atmosphere probably helps.
Yeah. I think they get kind of fired up for that.